Hi there. Welcome to Lincoln Table, you naughty little imps.
I've got them on the right way around this week.
Yo. Well, it's officially fucking winter again, mate.
I know.
Got trousers on.
I know, no shorts,
No.
body warmer,
Yeah.
or gilet is a posh word
Cold
for it.
at work. For all you desk jockeys out there,
Yeah.
you've got no reason to moan because it's cold, it's crap, it's dark, both ends of the day.
My other half, she used to work in an office, and she said, in the winter time, you'd get somebody moan that it was too hot in the office, wanted to turn the heating down, and there would always be the people like in jumpers, and then you'd get the ones that had no sleeves on. You know,
I'd be dishing out fucking open palms all day, wouldn't
she
you? I'd
says
be an expert in it.
It was, you know, oh, it's too hot, it's too hot, it's too cold, it's too cold. Then in the summer, you know, somebody would open a window and they would moan it was too cold, it's a bit chilly, there's breeze coming in here.
Have to put them in a shit pair of steel toe cap boots that don't fit properly.
move around.
Yeah, exactly.
Get a real job, do some work.
But anyway, we would like to say we're going to come on and pick everybody up because it's getting dark and cold and that, but we're not. We're going to pull the shit out of you and we're going to moan about stuff.
We're not. We're talking about the end of the world. That's what we're on about.
Quite literally.
But it's all good.
It's all good because we've got a beer.
We
again.
have. What's it called this week, Matt?
We've got it's from Loch Lomond Brewery.
Brave Hop.
Brave Hop, yeah.
Brave Hop.
Brave Hop. It's quite a strong one again, but
They may take our land, but not our beer.
yeah, it's
Mel Gibson's got a lot to answer for.
so it's got a landscape there of Loch Lomond, which pretty special place actually. I've been there a lot in my life.
Well, it has, yeah, but
Yeah.
I thought a lot
Wife's
was
got
a
family
lake.
there.
Why isn't there a lake on it?
Well, there is kind of, but it's beer. It looks like beer. The lake looks like IPA, which is pretty dreamy.
Do you think the water, what they use to make this, is actually from Loch Lomond out the lake?
Be better than the tap water, surely.
Probably would, yeah. The air quality in Scotland's better as well. I shouldn't really say that, should I? But it is.
Yeah, we're just gonna have a little.
That is really nice, Matt. Good choice there. Well
good
done.
one.
Happy days. Cheers.
We just wanted to have a little rant, didn't we? About not really a rant, but a bit of awareness about all the crap that's going on. Obviously,
Yes.
we're on Monday today. It'll be released next week, but we're on Monday today, and Big BJ's just put his announcement out, and he put more places into lockdown and stuff.
Talking. Sorry, mate. I'm going on a tangent again. Have you seen his spitting image puppet?
It's fantastic,
It's
isn't it?
brilliant.
It looks better looking than him, doesn't it?
Him and Trump, they look well together.
It's almost like what spitting image was made for. People like them, wasn't it?
I
They're
know,
real.
It was.
They've got real like caricature faces, haven't they? Anyway,
Yeah.
I think Trump's been characterised in numerous things, hasn't he?
I tell you, I remember that first come out in the 80s, mate, and they would not. Some of the things they put on them episodes back then, they wouldn't show it now.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, this is borderline now. I haven't watched it because I haven't got BritBox, but I've seen clips of it on YouTube, and I'm like,
The PC patrol they're too much of a strong force nowadays, aren't they?
they are, mate, definitely.
You'll be taken down. But
Deplatformed.
we just see so much and there's a lot of people talking about COVID because we've talked about it a few times, but spoke about it a few times. But I think, you know, the flip side of it gets ignored quite a lot, which is, you know, being working men ourselves, and we work in a trade. You know, we sit in that position of people that will struggle from all this, and we're seeing it now, aren't we?
I just remembered, mate. I'm really sorry. I'm going to turn my phone off.
Off. Well, you've got all the fans texting in, haven't we?
I know. Yeah.
We've got.
I
all
just
our
haven't got
followers
time to
texting.
read all them messages.
I know.
No, there we go. I'll put it down here. It's off. That's it.
We've got to get rid of
Don't
all
make
them
me
nudes
forget
and that they're sending in because now we're big stars on.
How many views?
Oh, you add them all together, we've got hundreds, thousands, haven't we?
It's not me and Matt repeatedly watching them. You do 50, I do 50, Matt.
Yeah, that's it. I don't know how it works, but yeah.
Sorry about that, mate. I apologise. Go on, carry on.
It's all good, yeah. But you know, we've I think us two together, we're pretty lucky in how it's gone for us, you know, with this furlough scheme and everything. But you do sometimes have to look a bit further, like where what's going to happen? What's going to happen when all this money's got to be paid back? You know, because it's happened numerous times. You know, it's not the first time that the governments have bailed companies out and loan money out left, right, and centre.
Well,
Yeah,
I brought this up when all this first, the furlough scheme came up, and obviously the 2008 recession, stroke 2009,
yeah,
they lowered VAT
yeah.
for a year. I think it was something like it was 17.5% back then they lowered it to 15. When they put it back up, it went up to 20.
Yeah. Well, that's gone up. That's gone up in my lifetime, hasn't it? Probably my working lifetime. Actually.
So they're going to want it back somehow.
Let's just put it up to 25 for a laugh.
Yeah, well, they probably will, mate. You know,
A Freddo is going to be about £1.99 by the time I'm 40. I'll be saying to my kids, I'll be like, I remember when Freddos were 10p. They're £4.50 now.
They were 15p. I'm sure they were 15p just about 10 years ago, and then now what are they? 25.
25 plus. Yeah,
that is bad, mate.
Depends what they want to charge you on. Yeah.
I remember when a Mars bar was 25 pence, mate.
Old Freddos won't live through this, will they?
No, Freddos won't survive. That's it.
But yeah, there's just numerous, like, we're seeing it now. Like, I've always loved Lincoln, where we live, as just being like, you know, it is basically we are a city, but we're as good as a town. We know we're small.
Well, we're very lucky. I mean, we've got
the university.
We've got the cathedral. We've got the castle. We've got Steep Hill.
Yeah.
You know, the Bailgate.
We've got the status that's worth funding, obviously, via the governments, which is why we've got like quite a nice city that we have, and
a lot of very picturesque postcard villages around and about. Definitely,
So I've always been, I've always liked the fact we can just go into town, and then we have got a town to go into, which is not just charity shops and, just crappy budget stores. We've got some quite nice little clothes shops. We've got some nice upmarket shops up the steep hill and stuff. But where we're going to go if this keeps going on, all these lockdowns and all this social distancing, we've just got to a stage where I thought all the evidence was there to put us right. For all these places to open up with all these rules like they have done, and then all of a sudden now it's back to like, even if you can go out, people are that paranoid because the news is ever changing. It's like these businesses are struggling, aren't they?
Well, it's certainly hitting the hospitality industry, really impacting them. And me and Matt decided to do a little bit of research, and we actually phoned a lot of traders up and just see how it was impacting them. And I'm going to mention now one of them, which is very near to where I live, is Mama's Bistro. And I had a word. There was a real kind lady who spoke to me on the phone the other day, and she said the impact it's had a real massive impact. Obviously, they haven't been able to bring back the number of staff that they had before. They've had to reduce table numbers. Obviously, with this rule of 6 coming in, there's no big family parties coming in. So
just spontaneous visits. You go in town, you have a look round. Now you've got to plan these sort of things. It's like but I bet a lot of these restaurants got, especially in the city centre. Yeah,
she was telling me the turnaround time for the tables. They only have a set time, so people aren't going to be. People want to sit and chill at a table, have that table, have a few drinks afterwards. They've got to vacate that table at a certain time for the next person to come in, but they have a window where they have to virtually sanitize everything, the chairs, the tables. They can only have a small amount of people in the kitchen because it's not very big. And it really is having an impact.
Yeah, and I always think the hospitality industry, like restaurants and bars, have always been cutthroat anyway. Like it's always been, you've got to put your life into it. Like it's always sounds quite dreamy, having your own little restaurant or your own little cafe, and like just that's your life. Just providing and bit of table waiting. And it's great, but they have to put their life into it. So when something like this comes along, they're gonna go around every avenue to keep open, aren't they? They're gonna do all the social distancing. They're gonna get rid of tables. So after all that, and you're still getting told, you're gonna have to fail. You're gonna have to let this thing go.
Well, they've just bought another business, and they're about they're gonna start they've bought the shop next door and they're going to turn it into a waffle bar.
Yeah.
But they've already been the restrictions that they're having to follow now is already a stumbling block.
Yeah.
You know, and they're just thinking, well, is this going to be worth it? You know, we're pumping a lot of money into doing this shop. Are we going to get back what we've pumped into it? And the answer at the minute is no.
And that's it. They're not the only one, are they?
No.
Like, look at even some of the big companies are pulling out. You know, they're pulling out. We've lost. I don't know. There's numerous. I've walked down our high street a couple of times because I'm working around the corner. So I've just to check it out and see what's going on. And there's a few big names that have closed. They've closed the shops. Just gone off the high street. You know.
Well, even the big chain food restaurants, I mean, they're struggling. They've had to close venues down, and because they're just not getting the volume of people.
Yeah.
You know, and this has a knock-on effect with people for jobs, and where are we going to put all these people in these jobs? I mean, what's going to eventually happen? I mean, obviously, Amazon have been really busy down lockdown. Everybody was buying from off the internet, and all these big corporations like Amazon, eBay,
Sports Direct.
yeah.
You know what? This is one of my. You know, you can rant till your face turns blue, but you know, people say, "What's the solution then?" I think one of the biggest solutions we can do, especially as small communities, which is not just Lincoln. I mean, small communities all over the country, is these places that we're thinking of, because we're not the only people that know people that have businesses that are failing. Like Christmas is coming up, birthdays are coming up, you know, all these events are coming up. Support these local businesses. If you're too paranoid to go out, speak to the manager, speak to the things. I'm sure they'd back you up and ensure you that if you pay for some vouchers for your family or for yourself to go out for a meal,
That's a
they'd
cracking
honour it.
idea.
They'd honour it, and I'm
Yeah,
sure they would. If
definitely.
something happened, I know people are a bit paranoid, but you know, 30, 40 quid for a meal. You know, you're supporting this business and potentially stopping them from closing. That might you might eat in there 6 months later, but they'll honour it. Like if I had a business, I'd honour it. So so instead of going on these places, Amazon, Sports
You're
Direct,
right, no worries.
you know, the businesses that 6 months to a year prior to all this COVID crap, they were the ones that dodging tax. They were the ones that weren't, you know, they weren't helping our government out. They were threatening our government to pull out of the UK.
Yeah, because of Brexit.
Because because they knew they might have to start paying some sort of taxes and actually having an input to our country. So now pay for the little businesses, support them, get them growing. You know, I'm not saying no one's ever going to use Amazon or Sports Direct, because I probably want myself. You know, but chuck some money into our own local economies.
Well, you look at the big percentage of your business, especially with bars and restaurants, with having to close early now.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that extra hour, what they could earn. I mean, depending on what time, I don't know what when the pubs reopen, what time they're allowed to open. I mean, I don't know about nightclubs, clubs or anything at the minute.
It's the same as chucking everyone out of 10, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's going to want to go out? You know what I mean? What's the point?
And if you are, you've seen the scenes across the UK, and people are just going to take the piss out of it, you know. And you're going to go earlier, and the earlier you drink, you're probably eating less food. You're going to get more pissed, you know.
Well, there were crowds and crowds of people in London coming out the pubs at 10 o'clock.
Because they're ready for a night out. This is how they've lived this is how you've lived your life since you turned 18. You've gone out for a night out.
But they were coming out, and they were all piling on the tubes, the buses, the taxis, crowds and crowds, and you've got a big volume of people then mixing. So what's that solving?
I know. I think some of these restrictions have just caused nothing but mayhem.
How many times have you been out and you've had a few, and you know, you think, oh, I need to get something to eat, you know, like to have a greasy tray of chips or a burger or something.
Yeah.
And, you know, they can't stay open.
Lost your
until
keys,
after
your
10.
money, and fell asleep in the doorway.
Yeah, that's
oh, no,
it.
is that just me? Yeah.
Oh, it's me, mate.
Yeah. I know, so
I woke up where you shouldn't have been.
I won't say any more.
No.
But yeah, I think this like supporting our little local communities and things like that, and just knowing that, you know, like I could say this as well, because I've met a guy who was in a band. They're from Leicester. I met them through work actually. You know, they've got onto BBC. They're called the Lids. I'm sure they won't mind me mentioning them out, but
no,
you know, they've grafted. They've probably grafted since they were kids. You know, to get to where they were getting to. They were on BBC introducing. You could research them. The music's on Spotify and Apple Music and all that sort of crap and YouTube. But you know, they were getting to a point where they were starting to get recognised. You know, they were playing good size, reasonable size gigs and stuff. And then bam, no one's gigging, no one's doing it. So they're just going to get forgotten about. But, these guys that you're supporting in the first place are still there, so keep supporting them. They have got social media and stuff, so they're still there. Because eventually we're going to want to go to good gigs. Like, if you're a normal human being, you're going to like music, you're going to like socialising, you're going to want to go back to gigs. Like, that's...
Well, hence why we did that film review last week.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like we've got a lot of local independent cinemas around Lincolnshire, and they're going to be affected.
No, of course they are, yeah.
I mean, there's people going there. Obviously, they take the families. Who's going to want to social distance in a cinema?
No.
That. I mean, it's been proven at the moment. It's like great director Christopher Nolan. He had that film out, Tenet was it?
Yeah,
I can't remember.
Not sure.
That's bombed at the box office because
No
not
one's
because
going.
the film's
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to see it.
The thing is,
and they're
you know
not
what the-
getting the numbers, the capacity, what they need.
What the film industry is, if this carries on going
Yeah.
longer than people are going to think it's going to keep going on, they're going to start boycotting the cinemas and probably releasing things straight onto, pay-per-view or whatever like that, which is that will just literally kill the industry.
I mean, wasn't there a new cinema that's just been done in town? That hasn't even opened yet, has it?
No, I don't even know.
I don't think it's
know about
open.
that one,
No,
it's not
no.
even had the hype, has it? 'Cause
No,
it's not worth thinking about, is it?
no. It's just unfortunate, mate.
But obviously, you're thinking about these individual. Even when you think about these big corporations, these big businesses, they're still individual people who've got jobs.
Yeah,
they're still contributing to the local economy via work. And I'm, quote me if I'm wrong, but I think there's like 750,000 people in the UK already lost their jobs due to COVID. So. I'm not. You can't slag the government off too much. Like, well, we do, but
we do.
But what would we do if we was in their position? Where would you turn? I mean, you've got to kind of. You do this at work, don't you? We do this. We work in construction. You work in risk assessments. Like, weigh up the odds. If the negative sides of putting things in place are going to overweigh.
A lot of them have been caught behind closed doors.
Yeah,
that's why they
yeah.
slag the government. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like Matt Hancock, didn't he stay in the
They were getting pissed in the bar.
at the
Yeah.
bar until 10:30?
Yeah. Probably taking a
in
piss
the
out of
Houses
us lot as
Parliament.
well.
Yeah. So where's their closing time at
Exactly.
10 o'clock? They're chucking out time. So
Exactly.
yeah, it's
And who's the nugget? Was she from the Scottish Parliament who tested positive for COVID? Got on a train.
And
she knew she
come
had
down
it.
here.
She tested positive. She got on a train. She went into the Houses of Parliament, and her apology was, "It was just a blip, and I'm not resigning." What
That's
happened if
disgusting.
imagine if you got caught?
If we did
Yeah.
it, mate, we'd
Exactly.
be locked
Exactly.
up. We'd be in prison. We'd be £10,000 fine.
Exactly, and we're not on massive wages,
No.
the normal person, and we're not, and if we don't turn into work, we don't get paid. You know what I mean?
How many times has Boris Johnson's dad been caught without a mask on in the paper?
Exactly.
Where's his fine?
It should be more than ours because they're setting
Yeah.
examples. They're the one
that's
the
it.
one that are setting the rules. So yeah,
It's strange, mate. Strange time, strange world, and
just a lot of things I think just to look out for. Like the charity shops. There might just be charity shops, but people aren't in town to go in the charity shop. So you got to look at the reason why the charity shops are there in the first place. They're going to a charity. So you imagine you think of all the charities that are losing funding because people aren't giving in.
Well, that's another thing. They're not taking the amount of stuff that. I mean, there were loads of people that were having clear out, and they can't take it because they've got to clean this stuff down. They've got to know where it's come from, clean it down.
It's always been a pain in my life. COVID socks and stuff like that. COVID on my t-shirt. It's always been an issue.
A little bit naughty of me. I had to clear out the other day, and it just went in the bin. I just thought,
Yeah.
you know what? It's,
Imagine all those people that are going to get ill from COVID from them clothes that have been put in that bin down. Sure, it's a big issue. I don't know. It's I'd like to. I would love for people to leave us a few comments, just saying what would they do in the position of the government? It's easy for us to slag them off like we do, but what would you do? What would you do if you knew that the old Chinese flu was coming over? what would you do? What would you do if you got told it and you knew it was going to be an issue? You knew it was going to kill vulnerable people with medical issues. It was, you know, it was indefinite because it has done. You can't deny that.
No.
You know.
Well,
how would you go about it?
What was it? Early January this year. It was almost on the news every night about China, the flu, and they were stopping flights coming out of Wuhan. And I always remember there was a flight come back from Wuhan to this country, and there was a lot of expats on the plane come over. They all got interviewed, and they all said, we never got once tested when we came off the plane or quarantined or anything. And they knew this was serious. Yeah. And then, obviously, the numbers kept rising and rising. Weeks went by, then boom, we went into a national lockdown. In fact, worldwide, there was a lot of countries that followed. Yeah, I know, obviously, South America's having it really bad at the minute, and there's been second waves. I mean, obviously, we're going through it at the moment, but it was what the government did was great. Like you mentioned earlier, we were lucky, we got furloughed. And I mean, it was great. You know, we managed, but there was a lot of people that couldn't manage at the time. And they don't get me wrong, they had to do something, and they didn't know what to do. There has been a lot of questions. Should they have done it earlier? You know, and that is the problem.
And if because now when I turn on the news, the kind of narrative is this will kind of be our future as a human race. There will be viruses, and there will be bad viruses.
There always has. Yeah, there always has, mate. Through history, you only have to go back.
So my argument is, right, if there is a strong team of people, like very intelligent people, scientists, epidemiologists, like parts of the government that know about this stuff. They know about viruses, and they know the transmission of viruses, and they know, like, now, because we're such an open race, like, we can travel anywhere in the world and be in contact with anyone anywhere. Why has there never been any infrastructure put in place for it? And if there has, where was it? You know, that's my argument. Is we put so many billions, hundreds of billions into our army to load up for wars that really aren't necessary. You know, they're wars that, you know,
no profit in peace, Matt.
Exactly, you know. No. So why have we not loaded billions into an infrastructure that can be like, right, we've just heard news from a place called China that there's a virus. It can travel quick, it can travel long, and it can cause, you know, mayhem, which it has done, whether it's financial or in the way of lives, which is taking a lot of lives. You can't deny that, whether you're a conspiracy or not, it's taking a lot of lives. Why was there nothing in place just to go, right, bang, there's no flights in, there's no flights out. That's it. That stopped any sort of foreign transmission, because that must be, well, that was the number one reason why it's here, from foreign transmission, flights in and out. That stopped dead in the water. So whatever's come over it is going to be at a minimum anyway. We can live off our own economy because we always have been a self-producing nation, haven't we? You know, we've got the infrastructure to live, we've got great farming, we've got everything, haven't we, really? You know, we could live by ourselves.
Well, we was until we joined the EU.
Yeah, exactly, exactly, yeah. Well, you know, we could have just stopped, bang, dead, stopped flights in and out, and stopped people coming in and out, leave it for 6 months, see how it goes. That's half a year. That sounds pretty bad, not going away, not going abroad, but it would have been less of a knock-on effect than what it has now, by leaving everything open and just saying, well, we might be able to get around it, let's just lock the country down so you can't see anyone. Like, I think the most devastating thing out of this has been not being able to see family.
Oh, it has. The impact of mental health on
family going into hospital, passing away without anybody around them. You know, what a way to go. Like, I can only think it's the worst possible thing to go through, you know. And people have gone through that with people having COVID, which is why it's hard for people to bring up any sort of alternative narrative on this whole COVID situation, because they've lost people through it. It's almost like you're ignorant for talking about it.
I mentioned this earlier before we started the podcast. A friend of mine's husband, who's got underlying health issues, hasn't been able to see his grandchildren since Christmas. She has, obviously, but her husband hasn't, and it is really having a strong effect on him. And he's like, well, you know, and he's just a prisoner in his own home.
Exactly. It's been the same for us, which is... is far from a bad situation in the way of what some people are going through. But, you know, I've had a baby and, you know, some nice little growing years of her life. You know, she's 15 months now. You know, my mum, her grandmother, her granddad, the wife's dad, you know, they've not really had to have, like, of course they've seen her enough, but they've not had, like, the contact that you should have.
No.
You know, because, number one, they're paranoid. And number two, me and the wife are. You know, we don't know what it is. We don't know how it affects our baby. Maybe it won't at all, but...
No, but
Yeah.
you've got to err on the side of caution, mate,
Yeah.
at the end of the day. And it is hard. It is getting hard out there, and
Yeah.
people are starting to ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And
Which is healthy. It's
Yeah.
healthy. You should never shoot people down for asking
No,
questions. And,
no.
and I tell you what, if we say things on this podcast that people are like, you know, you're completely wrong, lads, let us know about it. You know,
Yeah.
like I'd love that. I want to be corrected because
So-
I'm just talking from my point of view, the same as you are.
Well, I do, and
Yeah.
and one thing I am going to say this is I don't want anybody to think that me and Matt are COVID deniers. We're totally not.
Correct. How can you
And
deny it?
I don't want anybody sending rabid squirrels after me
Yeah,
and
exactly,
stealing the
yeah.
food out of my fridge
Exactly.
and tying my shoelaces up when I'm not looking.
We just live in a world where it's hard to see that the measures that are in place, like the things that are going on, the knock-on effects that they're having are worth the virus that we're seeing personally. Some people, I'm sure, they're seeing it a lot worse. I'm sure they are. Like, and you know, who are we to say that they're wrong? Because they're not. You know, they're as right as we are.
Yeah, I do believe that everybody's entitled to an opinion, and everybody has the right to question stuff, and that without being shot down, they should be allowed to speak, whether you
Yeah,
like that
exactly.
opinion or not.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, if they're spewing hatred, you know, that's a different thing.
Yeah.
But if they're asking a question,
Yeah.
you know, well, how can you say that? You know,
Exactly. It's
I
healthy.
mean,
it's
I've
yeah.
had that myself, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, well, you know, I'm asking it. I don't know.
Correct.
You know,
questions and debates are healthy for a
Yeah.
society. Otherwise, there's just somebody who's wrong and somebody who's right, which that is not right in itself, because everybody's opinions are based on something, you know. So if you can give enough reason why their opinion is wrong, you know, then you've got to take that in, haven't you? You've got to take that in.
definitely.
And if you can't debate, you can't have an opinion, and you can't have a discussion about a topic, then there's always a boxing ring with boxing gloves.
yeah.
You know, have a healthy spar. There you go.
I mean, there's a lot of it in the mainstream media, and I'm going to give a prime example. I cannot stand this guy. He totally annoyed me when we were furloughed from work. Piers Morgan. Talking to people about it, he constantly interrupting. Let them get the point across. They haven't finished answering the question, and he'd move on to the next question. They haven't finished, and he'd constantly shoot them down. And that is just wrong, and that's how a lot of the mainstream media have come across. And I have found lately that people have been looking to alternative media.
Yeah.
People have been there's plenty of professionals on YouTube that are doing stuff like this, that have worked in the mainstream media, that have done their own research, and
they've got masses of evidence to back their views and their opinions. So before you can go and argue with them and say that they're wrong, check what they're saying and then come back with your own information. That's what it should be. That's what it should be on these news outlets. Instead of outing people and downing them because they've got a way out view about a government policy or the coronavirus itself, go on national television and say this is why they're wrong. I don't see any of that on the national news. This is why they're wrong. Maybe there is sometimes, that I don't see, but you don't get many people who have doubted the policies that the government put in place, and then the government coming on backing up their policies. It's just like, this is our policy, this is what you're going to do, and that's it. There is no other narrative. That's it, done.
No.
You know, so it's healthy. So if people do watch this, you know, we are getting views. Well, you know, whether you're flicking through or not, like, just leave us some comments. Like, that's what we want. We want
comments. We want constructive criticism,
and we want people's inputs as well, which is great. Like, and we'd love to give like these inputs a shout out or discuss. It just gives us a discussion to have. Like, Otherwise, we're just waffling our shit to each other.
That's what we do, mate. We waffle shit.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
But well, that's our waffle. We've watched enough news this week, haven't we?
We have.
And I think you kind of have to be like I hate mainstream media, but you kind of have to be stayed in tune, even if it's just for the show. You know?
Yeah.
It's become a bit of a show.
Well,
hasn't
it is. It's a
Yeah.
freak show, isn't
Yeah.
it? The mainstream media.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't know. The BBC, what they pay some of their presenters on there, mate. Is
know.
I mean, they went over budget on the EastEnders set recently. It was so many millions. I mean, it's fucking shit.
I know.
It's the most depressing show out.
I could take it. I could put like a police body cam on my chest.
Yeah.
And you'd make a 1,000 times better show than you would out of EastEnders. I'm telling you now. I don't know.
Why is that still on the air? Who is watching it? Tell me. I want feedback. Who is watching that show? Oh,
Not me, Mark.
no.
It's not me. We might be missing out. It might be better than real life at the minute. But then again, I bet they're fucking social distancing and wearing masks on that bastard thing, aren't they? So you won't be able to get away from it.
Yeah.
But
Oh, dear.
anyway, that's all right. And same time next week. We'll be
Same time next week.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Thank you.
Please don't come after us.
Yeah, please don't. Or the government. You just
No.
just keep our. We're quite PC, aren't we? We're quite PC.
I'll go easy.
But if we do go,
It was him.
Yeah.
He put me up to it.
you got to think at least it'll be a view on our channel, won't it?
That's
It's
it,
gonna have a
mate.
view. Anyway,
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
See you next week.
bye bye.